Welcome to our latest edition of the Aggie Athletics Coaches Show, brought to you by Charles White State Farm. My name is Shawn Joy, and today we are joined with head women's soccer coach Ken McAlpine. Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're doing great. We love that first win we had last week from you guys. That was awesome. It's always great to start the season off with a win. Last week you guys went up to Kansas and beat Southwestern. Talk about that win and what the girls did well and what that means going forward, getting the first win of the season.
Yeah, I think it's a great step getting a first win. It kind of instills in them a sense of confidence, I think, that we're doing things well. And, I thought we played well in our preseason games, but we didn't really get the result that we wanted out of those games. And to finally get that in our first regular season game was great. And I thought the girls have continued to improve on a lot of things. I thought we did really well with our defensive shape and our pressing. And I thought that, their one goal was from a set piece. We didn't really concede anything from the run of play. And so I thought we showed really well defensively. And I thought we created good goal scoring opportunities. Obviously, we put 3 on the board, but, we created several more. And I think in the second half, it started getting a little bit chaotic. And that's been the theme of this week on how do we manage the game, especially when we have a lead. How do we manage that second half and the other team starts to get a little bit frantic and a little bit desperate? How do we keep our composure and maintain a sense of rhythm? Because I thought we kind of fell out of rhythm and started giving up some sloppy opportunities that we weren't giving up in the first half when we were more organized. So I think that's the next step moving forward. But I thought it was a great performance for game number 1 to come out there and get a win. You couldn't really ask for more to start a season.
It was fun to watch on the live stream. We really enjoyed it, and the girls played really well. So we play at home tomorrow, Friday at 11 a.m. So if you're around Goodwell, come over to campus, and at 11 a.m. the girls play at Anchor D Stadium. But we play Southwestern and New Mexico.
Yep.
What do you want to see from the first game last week to tomorrow? What are some things that you guys need to get better at? You hit on a little bit earlier, but just talk about tomorrow's match and what you guys want to do to get the victory there.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited to open up our home schedule, and we want to make this a place that's always tough to come in and play, and for the girls to take pride in defending their home turf. And so we hope to show well tomorrow. I think we'll need to do what I just said in terms of managing the game and try to dictate the tempo, try to dictate the flow. And the rhythm, and that has to be intentional sometimes, especially when the other team is really pressing. And I think they're going to be coming in desperate and thinking they can win and wanting to get a win. They haven't got a win yet to start the season, but they have enough quality to do so. And I think our team knows that. And so we have to come in with the mentality of they're coming for us, and we have to up our game. And so I think we show the same sort of organization on the defensive end, the pressing on the defensive end. I think we need to get better at set pieces. And so corner kicks were not great for us, defending corner kicks. Like I said, their one goal was a set piece, and I wasn't really happy with how we defended that set piece. And so that's a secondary focus of this week, is just making sure that if they're going to score on us, that they completely earn it and we don't give away anything. So we just want to be a team that's very tough to break down, a tough team to score on. And hopefully we take that next step and then continue on with, the goal scoring chances that we saw in that first game. But we'd love to have a great environment for that first home game.
That'd be awesome. Hopefully we can get some people out there and watch you guys play well. Let's backtrack a little bit. You talked about camp a little bit in preseason. Mm-hmm. What did the preseason look like for you guys? Practices and also scrimmages. What did you guys do to get ready for last week's game, preseason wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing in every preseason is try to establish the culture, because, you bring in, every year is just very different. The feel of the team changes. We graduated both of our captains, 7 seniors. And so, we brought in a lot of transfers, players with experience, but, every team is completely different. And so you have to kind of restart the culture in some ways. I think the returners help in that regard, but setting the expectations and the standards for everyday training and how they should be working and what's the standard of the work rate on the field, but also like little things. Because I really think like little things add up to make a big difference.
For sure.
So things like, whenever you go get water and when you come out, you jog out as a group. You don't just come out individually Just so instilling things like that, I think is important in preseason. And I think the second thing is the defensive organization. And so I think attacking, it comes very instinctually. And, you can always do something as a coach to try to promote goal scoring opportunities, but a lot of that is individual play, So as a coach, the most important thing I think to start out with is organizing the defense, making sure that like everybody's in one unit, starting from the top, which is our forward, all the way back to our goalkeeper, that we know what we're doing, regardless of where the ball is on the field. And so it was a lot of that, and that's what we wanted to see in the preseason scrimmages, is that we are progressing in that aspect. And I think it really showed in our first game, and I thought we had a good performance defensively. And so, yeah, that's really what it is, getting the team used to each other, the new group used to each other, building the culture, and we'll continue to build it throughout the season, and then working on the defense.
There's a lot of excitement around the women's program because of last year. You guys had a lot of program first. You went to the postseason, you did a lot of great things, and that's awesome. That's great. Yep. But like you said, every year is different, and it's a new year. What are the challenges as a coach you're facing, or what are the things you're trying to do to get them to not just be satisfied with just making the postseason, but now maybe trying to improve on that seeding? What are the goals, or what are the expectations going forward about, all right, we did that last year. Yep. This is a new year, and what can we do better this year?
Yeah. I think we did a pretty good job last year with the culture, and that kind of led us to that success. But I think with that culture comes like this hunger for more, this hunger for growth. And so I think the team already had that. And so the returners, at the end of last year, they were really proud of what they were able to accomplish, and they were able to acknowledge that. But at the same time, they felt like maybe they left something on the table. And the girls that are returning are like, okay, we're not going to take that game for granted, or we're going to do this differently. And so I think the returners came in very motivated already. And, of course, we have goal setting sessions and as a team, and then we talk to the recruits through the recruiting process of like, this is the history of our program, this is what we did last year, and here's where we're wanting to go next year. So they're well aware of that coming into the program. But I think, that I don't have to really motivate them too much, right? Like it's already there. They're intrinsically motivated. And so that's great. And so for us, we want to, continue that standard. We want OPSU women's soccer to be a program where every year we're getting into the postseason. And that's the expectation, is that we're playing postseason ball. But we want to obviously improve and not wait until the last, game day and biting our fingernails to get in. And it was, it's great for theater, right? And built the tension and all that kind of stuff. But, we want to do better, so that way we feel more secure. So we'd love to improve the win total. We'd love to improve like the seeding that we get. I thought we did really well in competing in all of our games. And so, we'll continue that even against the best teams. We want to be competitive and we want to be in the game. But I think there's a couple more games that if we had played a little bit better, if we had brought our A+ game instead of like a B+ game, we could have maybe gotten a win. And so I think the team knows that, and that's going to be the goal this year of improving across the board.
Well, I know the girls last year, they played hard. They were very competitive. And I think, just a few things here or there, I think really puts you guys in a different category this year. Yeah. So we're excited to watch that. Break down the roster a little bit for us. You talked about returners a little bit and who you graduated, but just talk about the makeup of the roster. Mm-hmm. Returners, newbies, transfers, high school kids. Kind of what's the roster look like for 2025 this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite an even split, but close to it. We have a little bit more returners. The retention rate's been great, and that's the thing with going back to the culture, where like I think people enjoy being in the program and they believe in what we're trying to do, and they want to continue being a part of it. And so we do have even though we've graduated 7 seniors, we have a good returning class, a big returning class, and then brought in a lot of transfers as well. So this year we had no true freshmen straight out of high school. They're all transfers. Some only have 1 year of experience, but anyway, they have experience playing at the college level, playing in games that really matter. And so, I think that makes things a little bit easier in the preseason because they have a sense of what it is, what college soccer is and what student athlete life is, because that's always a big adjustment for true freshmen. But that's the makeup, and I think the returners have done a really good job of welcoming the new players in, making them feel at home, making them feel welcomed, and also giving them the platform to have a voice. I think that's being a fall sport. We got to get up and running really quick. And so we don't have time for new players to just take their time and get comfortable. We need them to come in right away and have a voice and push the culture themselves. And we're trying to empower them to have that voice, no matter if you've only been here a month or if you've been here 3 years, it doesn't matter. We're all fighting for the same cause. And so I think the culture in the locker room is in a good place right now.
Good deal. We're one match in, a couple scrimmages in, about a month of camp. So far, what do you think the strengths of this team are going to be or can be for this year's club?
I think we have the potential to work hard. And I know that kind of gets thrown around a lot, but, everybody wants to work hard, right? But it's kind of like that bell curve, right? Not everybody can be the hardest working team. But I do think we have that potential to be the hardest working team or one of the hardest working teams. I'm happy with the response that our team has when we're trying to push them, when we're trying to raise the standard. I think they respond well. And I think they want to be held accountable. And so I think that can be a strength. And whenever you outwork the opponent, you always have a shot, right? Regardless of who you're playing. So I think that's going to be something that we rely on. I think the organization is something that they take pride in. And I think the leaders and not just the captains, but, all the seniors as well, all the returners, I think they understand like the importance of it because we drilled it last year. And then I think that can be something that'll be a strength for us this year as well. I think we added a few individual pieces that'll help us on the attack. But I think as a group, we're going to be good defensively. I think we're going to be organized and a hard team to score against. So I'd say those would be our strengths.
Now, on the flip side of that, what are some things right now that you think, we've and you've talked a little bit about it already, but just go a little bit more detail about what are some things that if you guys can get better at or improve on, then that'll really help you guys out. Maybe some perceived weaknesses that you guys need to improve on.
Right. Yeah. So I think the first thing is that we learn how to manage the game. Like I said, it's still a young group. And we need experience having a lead in the second half, learning how to close those games out, learning how to deal with that change of maybe tempo from the other team. They start getting a little bit more desperate. We have to be a lot more intentional with how we play. Or it might be the start of the game where they come out and they want to establish themselves as like being on the front foot and being super aggressive. And how do we counter that? Every defensive philosophy has its own weakness. And so how do we expose that weakness? So I think that's going to come through experience throughout the season. And you really have to get yourself in those moments to get better in those moments. So that's hard to truly replicate in practice. But hopefully we'll see continued growth in that. I think, being under pressure, how do we switch the point of attack under pressure whenever they're pressing us high to kind of get out of traps? How can we be a little bit more composed in the attacking third, and make sure that we create quality opportunities. So I think we did get some good opportunities in the first game, but there are several places where we just missed, like not the final pass, but the pass that can lead to the final pass. Just the area of the field that we should be getting the ball into. Some missed opportunities there. So I hope that we develop a little bit more composure. Not in the transition, but whenever they are just set in their defense, right? Like how can we break them down better? And then how can we build out of their pressure a little bit better? And then managing the game, like I said. So hopefully we see progress in those areas throughout the season.
So after tomorrow's match with Southwestern here at home, we've got 3 more non-cons before SAC play starts. We go to Kansas City. Heston comes here, and then we go to Colorado State. Or go to Adams State over in Amoroso. When you put together a preseason schedule, what do you look for? You got a D2 on the preseason schedule. Yeah. You've got kind of a mix. When you're putting together your preseason schedule, what do you want to accomplish, with the girls before we start SAC play?
Yeah, I mean, we want them to be pushed. We want them to kind of experience the game at a high level to get them prepared. And I think, especially our last game against Adams State will be a great opportunity for that. As we're traveling to them. They played us really well last year. I mean, that's one game where I thought, the score line was fairly close, but they were the much better team, last year. And so we want to go there this year and perform better and really be in the game and feel like we have a shot. and creating a lot of opportunities. And so regardless of if we win, draw, lose that game, we want to go into season feeling like, man, we can compete with some of the best teams. And so we're hoping for that. And I think, the rest of the games, they are in a situation where they know they have to play well to win. Some of the games, I think they go into it knowing like, hey, if we bring our best, like we're going to be good. In some of the games, it's like, well, we got to bring our best, and we got to be the hardest working team, and we got to execute all these things. So it's just like a regular season where it kind of varies. But the SAC is a very strong conference, and there's no teams that you can just expect to get a win against. Every team is competitive, every team can play.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with the SAC. It's very competitive. Every sport, football, basketball, baseball, volleyball. There's no off weekends or off games. Talk about what you think we have to do this year in the SAC to improve our standings and to find a way to creep up that leaderboard a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope that our ceiling is a little bit higher this year. But at the same time, every program tries to get better every year. And we're seeing that this preseason where. Recently, this week, John Brown is number 3 in the country. USAO is nationally ranked. MACU, I think, was receiving votes. They're probably going to be ranked this year. They had a really good win last night. And then, but the other teams below that too, they can all play, and they can all compete, and they can all beat each other on a given day. And so, it's a really strong conference. And for us to be able to creep up, it's us. Winning these 1-goal games, and sometimes we're on the losing end of 1-goal games, and if we can draw some of those, or if we can win some of those, if we can have a good showing and a good defensive effort, and then maybe beat one of the top teams, then that'll give us the ability to jump up, right? But it's not. We didn't lose any games that we were just a much better team than the other team last year. That didn't happen. Every game was competitive. Every game was close. And we just need to execute in a few moments to come out at least with a draw or with a win to get some more quality points and creep up the ladder. But you have to work for everything in this conference.
Let's talk about those close, one goal matches. A lot of it's predicated on defense. Like you said earlier, if you're solid on defense, you're in every game, you got a shot. It does come down to individual players sometimes, but what are the things that you can do as a coach maybe to flip us from those one goal games to coming in our favor? Is it recruiting? Is it just offensive mindset? I know defensively is where you hang your hat, but what can we do as a program to make those 1-score games go our way?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, recruiting obviously helps. Having good players certainly helps. I don't play a single minute on the field, so having players helps. But I think just having like a consistency of energy throughout the whole game. Where soccer is just a game where the players go out and play. And there's like no timeouts. You can't bring them in and whatever. And so they have to be trained in a way that their focus stays the same. And then their effort doesn't drop. And if you score a goal, you can't relax, right? Like you have to double down and try to get the second, right? And if you get the second, you have to double down and try to get the third. And if you can get the third, then the game becomes more comfortable, right? But if you're kind of like, we score a goal and then we kind of relax, and they get back into the game. So we talk about the big fives. So it's winning the sidelines. We're big into that. Like even if they have a bigger bench, we want to be the more passionate bench. We want to bring more energy, right? Yeah, we want to win the first 5 minutes of each half. We want to win the last 5 minutes of each half. We want to win the 5 minutes following a goal, whether we score the goal or whether they score a goal. Like, how do you respond to that? Because goals change games. And then we want to win the warm up. So like both teams are warming up. Like who is building the level up for the game, right? Like who's getting better. So we want to win all those moments. I thought we were a little bit inconsistent with how we responded to goals last year. So that's been a big focus of us, throughout the season so far. Even in training, like when a goal is scored, I start my timer, and I'm letting the team know like who won the 5 minutes after the goal was scored. And a lot of times you will see like a change of mentality of like, we got to go get the second goal, and so I think hopefully that will help us, like I said, the goals hopefully will come, but we were in a lot of games last year where the low scoring games, the 1-0 games, maybe less than 10 shots per team, so it was very tough for them to break us down. It was tough for us to break them down, and so with that, I think comes more organization with how we set up the attack and the attacking third, and hopefully we can improve on that from where we were last year, where a lot of our goals were from like breakaways, or they were like individual efforts. We did have some team goals, goals from corner kicks, stuff like that. But we want to be scoring more goals where their defense is set and we're able to break them down. And we weren't able to really see that consistently last year. And hopefully we can show that a little bit more this year.
Well, that's good stuff. You've talked so much in our interview so far about mental side of the game, like the first 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes after you score a goal, after you give up a goal. People think soccer, you're in condition, you have to be in condition to play. Obviously, it's very physical, but how much of soccer and being a good club is the mentality and the mental side of it? Like, how much of that to you is a big part of it?
I mean, I think it's a huge aspect of it. I mean, obviously, talent trumps everything, right? And so you have to have talent. But if both teams have talent, then I think that next thing is what puts a team over the top of the other, is like the mentality and how much do you really want it? How much are you like focused? Because games come down to moments, like small moments, right? It's a low scoring game. Opportunities are at a premium. And so if you're dominating a game, and you're getting like 20, 30 shots off, but the other team gets a corner kick and you switch off and you just lose your mark, right? And they score and then they win 1-0, right? And so it's being able to be just switched on for all 90 minutes and be like hyper focused, and just not letting your mind wander or think about other things, but like just being in the moment at all times. If you're on the bench, that you're not just we want you to be a cheerleader, but we also want you to be thinking about the game, analyzing the game, and getting mentally ready for like when you go in, like exactly what you want to do and you understand the game state and how they're pressing us. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's a part that we try to get the girls to internalize, and hopefully we'll see that, this year where they kind of win that mental battle.
Well, last question before we let you go, Coach. Let's get off the pitch for a little bit. We're out here in no man's land.
Yeah.
We're out here in Aggie land. What do you and the girls do, off the field to kind of keep things fun, keep them enjoyable? Like, what are the things that Aggie soccer does off the field to kind of keep the girls interested in school and just have a good time?
I think the players that we have here are a special group because we are in a special location, and it's not for everybody, but I think the ones that come here, I think they enjoy it. I think they enjoy this sense of community. I think the school does a really good job of supporting athletics and the community, Goodwill, Guyman, Texoma, right? Like this whole Panhandle area, there's a lot of pride in OPSU. And so I think I always talk about how here you have a unique opportunity. If you're an NAIA school in a big city, you probably don't get that same sort of like ability to impact, say, like the youth, or other people as you go out and you do community service events, because there are bigger D1 universities closer by, right? But here at OPSU in the Panhandle, like there's a bigger sense of pride that we represent this region of the country. And so we talk about that, before we go out and say work with youth soccer, or if we go to the elementary school or whatever. The girls understand that, like, hey, if you put on this jersey and you show up someplace, like, people are going to be watching you, and people care about you. And so there's more responsibility on their shoulders, but I think they really enjoy that, the sense of representing the university and maybe being somebody that young kids kind of like get excited to see or maybe look up to. So I think that brings them excitement. I think the team does things off the field, like movie nights in our locker room, or they'll go out. I think every week they go out to eat. They got a couple spots in Guyman where they go out to eat on Wing Wednesdays or Taco Tuesdays, right? Like being frugal with their money, but like going out and getting stuff with the group. And so I think, that bonds the team together as well.
Well, Coach, you and the girls are doing a great job. Keep up the good work, okay?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Best of luck tomorrow. And if you guys can come out tomorrow to Anchor East Stadium, catch the girls at 11 a.m., the boys will be at 1 p.m. That does it for our latest episode of the Aggie Athletic Coaches Show, brought to you by Charles White State Farm. We'll see you next time.